Hi everyone, my name is Bev Filer. I'm with South Tex Creations, and I am here today to show you how I made Mr. Bones in a tub. So I'm going to tell you step by step how I made this. It's a kind of a long process because there are certain things you have to do and let it set overnight and cure before you can move on to the next thing. And there is some sewing involved. So I'm just going to tell you step by step what I did. First of all, let's talk about his little basket here with the bottles. Let me just take this off. This is a removable basket, okay? It is held on by S-shaped rings. Let me just slide them over. As you can see, let me give you another close look. These are S-shaped rings. You can buy these anywhere, any hardware store. I usually buy these when I'm using my grids to set up my wreaths. I will put one of those on the crossbar and hang my wreaths from. So this is just, I put one of these on evenly spaced, so this would hang nice and level. And then this just hooks over the side of the rail of the galvanized tub that I use. So let's start talking about this first. So these bottles all came together. All three of these bottles came in this little, let me pull this bottle out. Okay. So I bought this at Michael's. I have been looking for something very similar to this. Seriously, guys, I looked everywhere. This is what I had envisioned, and I walked into Michael's, and I was like, oh my God, it's like the crafting gods knew exactly what I was looking for. It held 3 bottles. It's got 3 individual spots, and it's got the 2 little handles. I'm actually going to make a little towel that's going to hang off of this one right here. What I did was I took some ribbon, and this is the ribbon that I use. It's a 1.5 inch orange and polka dot ribbon. I folded the ribbon in quarters, and I just wove it in and out of the mesh on this. Okay, wove it in and out. And then I hot glued the 2 ends together. And then I just made a real pretty simple bow, curled the ends. I added a little spider on one of the handles. And I added these little pumpkins. Now, these pumpkins I got from Hobby Lobby. There's 4 to a package. Oops. And you can find these in their Halloween section. They're just the little craft pumpkins. And these are velour or velvet, whatever you want to call it. And so I just added one right in the center of the bow. I wanted to keep it very simple and, kind of cutesy. Now, the bottles did come clear. They're not painted. So the way you paint on glass is you take 1 part Elmer's glue and 1 part of regular craft paint, any color you want, and you mix them together. And you just start painting the surface of this. Your first coat needs to have a nice, good coverage, but on the thin side. You can probably still see some of the clear bottle through it, but you want your first coat to be nice and even, and as even as you possibly can. And I painted all of this here and all the way to the top. And it also comes with a little cork top. Okay, once that first layer was dry, I did a second layer and I let that dry. Once both layers were dry, I covered the whole thing in Mod Podge. So I can scrape this with my fingernail. Hear that? And that paint is not coming off. So I took some burlap rope and I just tied it all the way around this part of the bottle, the mouth, I guess, of the bottle. And then on the cork, then I made a little bow. On the cork, I had some of these little fuzzy balls, and I happened to have the green, the purple, but I didn't have an orange. And I just wanted to add something kind of fun. So I just hot glued one of these fuzzy balls to the top of the cork. that matches the paint that I did on the bottle. Okay, and the cork just fits right down into the bottle. Then I found some stickers, black, just plain black stickers, and I put the sticker on, Mod Podge that, and then on my computer I printed out the words. So this one said Bones and Shoulders Shampoo. The green one says Bones So Soft. And then the orange one is Bones and Shoulders Conditioner. So I just decoupaged that right onto the bottle. So the holder. And like I said, I just took the S-shaped hooks. I bent them around evenly spaced, and then this just hooks on. So this is a galvanized tub. And I don't know if you can see, but it has the, let me bring it in a little closer. It's got like a 2 handles. So that's pretty much what it was, just like that. Okay, this particular tub comes in 3 sizes. There was a large, a medium, and a small. Well, I knew the small. I really thought he looked cuter in the medium size versus the large. So I took the large back and I kept the medium. I liked how he looked oversized. You know, his feet was hanging out and everything. So that's what I went with. The next thing I did was I took this ribbon here, and I made a little skirt to go around the base, and it's actually just hot glued. And all I did was, since this is wired ribbon, let me just, hang on just a second, let me just take this out, and I'll show you what I did. So I took a piece of ribbon and I measured all the way around, and then I added half again the length of this because I wanted to gather it. I removed one end of the wire, completely pulled it out. On the other side, I pulled out the ribbon and I started gathering the ribbon. And that is so easy to do. The one thing you want to make sure is take one side of your ribbon and fold it down like that. What that's going to do is it's going to stop that that wire from completely pulling out. So basically all you're doing is you're just grabbing that ribbon or grabbing that. Let me see if I can find that. Let me start on this side. And I do this a lot with a lot of things. So see, all I'm doing is I'm grabbing that wire. And see how you're just pulling that fabric? You're hanging onto the wire with one hand. And you're gathering it. And that's it. Once I gathered it to the, you know, how much gathering I wanted, I just hot glued it right underneath the rim, right underneath the rim. So it kind of dressed up the tub just a little bit. Like I said, I wanted to keep this kind of rustic looking, but I wanted to dress it up. And I really love this black with the orange and black polka dots in the white. So it was simple. It was still very Halloween-weenish. So that's all I did. Real simple. Okay. Once I did that, and you want to do the prep work on your tub before you start adding your skeleton. The next thing I did, after I hot glued my skirt around the tub, I set my, let me pull this pillow out. We'll talk about the pillow in a minute. I set my skeleton in there, and I actually took a piece of wood and place it between his back and one side of the tub, because I didn't want his back leaning up against the tub, because I wanted to make a pillow to place that there behind his back. So I just made a little gap with just a little piece of wood right there. Once I got him positioned in there just the way I wanted, and of course I took his arms and I pulled his arms up out of the way, I used just the regular, what is this? This is called the Great Stuff foam installation. And I sprayed it all inside. Now, the one thing about this stuff, it does expand. So you don't want to overspray. So I probably sprayed it right about to here. I did cover his hip bones pretty good. And as soon as I sprayed it all, I took the fluff, the polyfill, and I laid a nice layer of polyfill right on top of the wet foam. I didn't press it down. I just kind of laid it on there and just with my fingertips just kind of placed it. So that way the polyfill had something to grab onto, but without stopping the good stuff or the great stuff from expanding. So that took 24 hours for it to expand and cure. So he is in there. He's not going anywhere. So that's what gives the illusion of the bubbles. This is just polyfill that's been laid on top of a wet, the good stuff. And I found this at Walmart. The only thing I didn't do right was this is yellow. I should have bought the white. But I did add some more polyfill. And the way I added more polyfill is I have something called spray adhesive. I don't have that bottle with me. And I just did a light spray on top of the polyfill that was already there. And I added some more polyfill. So this polyfill is nice and glued down, if you will. It's still fluffy. You know, if you pinch it, you can still pull some of it up. But the overall part of the polyfill is adhered to this. So to recap, I positioned my skeleton in my tub. I put a block, a piece of wood behind his back because I didn't want his back leaning up against the tub. I sprayed it with the good stuff. I covered his hip bones and I only sprayed it up to about here, about there. Okay. While it was still wet, I added the first layer of polyfill. After 24 hours and it had expanded, and again, this is when I realized, oops, I should have bought the white and not the yellow. I wanted to make sure I covered the yellow. I took some spray adhesive, and just in some areas where it was kind of thin, I did some shots of the spray adhesive, and I added more polyfill. Okay, so this is nice and snug in there. All right, so once I did that, I wanted to add bubbles. Okay, these are just regular. I got these at Hobby Lobby, but let me pull one out. I only used 3 because I couldn't find the small ones, but these are just the regular clear plastic ornaments. You'll see these here in another month or so. But I wanted the small ones. They don't have the small ones out yet, so I went ahead and bought the large ones. And I only added 3, so that gives that bubble, like he's got bubbles floating on top of his bath. The little rubber ducky, if you can see him, let me move his arm. You can see the rubber ducky. I bought the rubber ducky at Party City. Again, I wanted a small rubber ducky. I could find rubber duckies, big ones, all over the place, but I didn't want a big one because I knew these balls that represent the bubbles were going to be big anyway. So I wanted a small one. Segue into how I made the scrub brush. This scrub brush is actually 2 different things put together. It's you guys are going to laugh. The wand, and this is wired onto his fingers. That's why I can't take it off. The wand and the brush part, or I'm sorry, the wand and this back part is actually a little mirror. It's I think it's one of the Disney princesses. And then the brush is a little hairbrush from one of the Disney princesses. All I did was I cut the handle off of the brush and I hot glued it to the back of the wand. I painted the wand, the brush and the wand, all the same exact way I did the bottles, with the Elmer's glue and the black paint. Then I haven't done this yet, but I'm gonna take some black felt and I'm gonna put a piece of black felt on the back of this. So that's how I made his little back brush. Okay. What I did to secure the back brush to his fingers was the piece of wire, the extra piece of wire that came out of the ribbon. I just laid that brush between his thumb and his index finger, and I just wrapped the wire around his thumb and the brush. So this is nice and secure. Yes, it's movable, but it's not going to move. And I just bend his arm, bend his hand back, and I just lay the paint or lay the back brush right there against his shoulder. Now let's talk about his little bonnet, his little bathing cap. So I was going to make a bathing cap. I had some material very similar to this, and basically what I was going to do was cut a round circle and do the stitching all the way around and gather it and then form it to his head. Well, I happened to be at Dollar Tree and they had bath caps, and they had this one in the wild print, which I just love. So I knew it was going to be too big for his head, so I went ahead and bought it. I thought, well, let's try it. You know, that'll save me from having to actually make one. I brought it home, and I took a needle and thread, and I just did a whip stitch, you know, an in and out stitch right where the elastic is. I put it on his head. I pulled the thread really tight and formed it to his head and tied it off. And because it's so big, it made it poofy. And I really kind of like that. You know, it's kind of over the top. Let me turn his little head. And it made it real poofy, which I really liked. Then what I did was I took the same, the same ribbon that I used on this, which was the orange and the with the white polka dots. Again, I folded the ribbon in quarters, and I hot glued it all the way around where the gathering is. I made a little bow. Let me turn him around so you can see. I made a bow. I added another one of these little pumpkins, and then I had a couple of these cute little ghosts. I thought, you know what, I'm going to add some ghosts. So I just hot glued the ghosts, pushed them down into the fabric, and I hot glued the ghosts. So let me give you a close-up look. So you have one kind of smiling real big, and then you have this one doing the typical ghost, the ghost look. So I added the two little ghosts. And then just for fun, I added another spider crawling up his leg right there. I mean, if you're going to sit in a tub, you got to have a pillow to lean your back on. So I handmade this little pillow. Super cute. This is the fabric that I chose. It's orange with little spiders. I figured since he's got spiders on his leg and he's got a spider sitting on the handle right here on his bottles, I had this material from last year, so I made him a pillow. And then what I did was I took that same orange material with the white polka dots and I made the trim. So if you know anything about sewing, all I did was I did the same process as I did making the skirt. I pulled the wire out of one side. Then I pulled the wire on the other side of the ribbon to make my gathers. I took some straight pins and I pinned it to one piece of the fabric and I sewed it all the way around. Then I took my other piece of fabric and I sandwiched it together and I sewed. I left an opening about maybe 1.5 inches, and I turned the right sides out. I think I took a pair of scissors and just make sure that the ends came out nice and stiff, and then I filled it with polyfill. And then I just took a needle and thread. Right here is where the opening is. You can barely see it right there. I just took a needle and thread and closed up this edge. So I made him a cute little pillow. I didn't overfill it, so the pillow can come out. And so since this ribbon here is the dots are on one side and it's solid on the other side, I have the dots facing forward. So I just take the pillow and I just kind of work it down in there between his back. And there you go. Well, then I'll see you guys next time with another one of my crazy creations. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.